أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم وعلى آله أصحابه أجمعين. Thank you very much for all of you joining today. We have immense number of registration. Alhamdulillah, we got 250 plus registration for this special webinar. The speaker who is joining us today is Mr. Bashir Juma. I call him a sea of knowledge. He is joining us from Canada. It's 6 a.m. there, and we are very grateful for him to give us his precious time today. A former office managing partner, Ernst Young, by profession, chartered accountant, a motivational speaker. He is the author of several self-reflection books, including Now or Never, Highway to Success, Time Management for Muslims, to name a few. Due to limitation of time, I am bound to not elaborate further on his achievements, but I would request him to take the lead now and start the session since it's quite early there. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Islam. Alhamdulillah walihi wassalamu ala nabi. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear participant, and thank you for the Taif for arranging this webinar. And the purpose of this webinar is to facilitate our participant how they contribute for the improvement of performance of their connected or networked NGOs or organizations. TAIF provides facility to integrate the people who work for the Islamic finance. And I understand that zakat, sadaqat, social, charity, endowment, trust related activities do also come under the scope of the TAIF advisory work. The reason for this workshop or this webinar is that we in our region, and my understanding of region is Asia and Africa, where there are a lot of funds available, but their spending is not as much as we can say trustworthy. According to a survey of Stanford University and the Center of Philanthropy of Pakistan, in 2015, there was an estimated amount of charity of 240 billion rupees. This is about 2015, and now we are in 2021. Inflation has gone up. Accordingly, zakat would have been accelerated. The other thing is that we have not considered the surrounding countries where there are a lot of funds available for charity and zakat and sadaqat. So our aim of this program is and to suggest to the leadership of the TAIF that a forum of volunteers should be established to understand the purpose of NGO, to advise NGOs how to improve their performance, and to create a culture where our people, our leaders, and our NGO leaders are agreeable to listen to us and to improve the performance of the organization which come under their domain. When we talk about performance, we talk about the individual performance, group of team performance, organization for business, and not-for-profit organizations. The understanding of performance is how well done a piece of work or activity. How well is important. Activities are done, but how well they are. And number two, the capabilities observed under certain conditions. And the definition of capability and capacity will be discussed during this presentation, inshallah. When we talk about individual performance, there are 10 indicators according to a source given in the slide. Number one, level of execution, quality of work, level of creativity, amount of consistent improvement, customer and peer feedback, sales revenue generated by that individual, responsiveness to feedback, ability to take ownership, percentage of tasks completed on time, and being on time and on budget. These are the performance indicators of a medium-sized organization, of individual. When we talk about the performance of a business entity, we see the financial performance, profitability and revenue growth, service quality, customer satisfaction, social stewardship, human resources performance. What are we talking about? The not-for-profit organization in our region. We have categorized in three. Number one group is the NGOs, non-government organization, not-for-profit organization, community-based organization. Number two, religious, educational, and health institution, which are running in mass scale. Number three, government facilities operated by the organization and NGOs. The new culture is developing in our area. The objective of this organization, now we will be calling NGOs or this organization to simplify our presentation. Reaching a particular goal, draw attention to projects or issues. These are media related. The first is work related. What are the objectives of NGOs? Welfare work in relation to poverty elevation and disease or in respect of social groups. Welfare work for education and skills development. These organizations create objectives, vision, and mission to help them to carry out their work in a clear and organized way. They are not for profit. They earn the money. They spend the money. They are not concerned about the profit. Spending is their main purpose. And to spend that money, they collect the money. Delivery of service, benefit to beneficiary, and achievement of targets. These are three objectives: delivery of service, benefit to beneficiary, and achievement of targets. The impact of the funding through the performance of the setup will create the change in the organization and in the surrounding of the organization. Now, what they are doing and what we are expecting, that funding configuration should be according to objectives and spending per specification. Funding must achieve its particular target, create impact inherently associated with the values of that organization or objectives, less cost with the desired quality. Less cost with the desired quality. Doing the right job, actual impact matchable with the intended impact. The organization has the capacity to perform, the leadership and team can perform. That is capability. The spirit of accountability is prevailing. That is accountability. So these are 3 slides with 9 points, and each slide has 3 common things together. Now the capacity is quantitative. The word is also used to describe the abilities or powers of human being to do or understand something, as when a person is said to have a great capacity for hard work or the capacity to lift load or weight. Whereas the capability is a feature, an ability or competence that can be developed in a person. It could refer to an ability that exists in an individual but can be improved upon through training. What our objective is to improve the capabilities of the persons associated with the NGOs. An NGO's performance defined as how well it contributes to other people's efforts to improve their lives and societies. There are 3 globally known organizations who have authority on these matters. One is INTOSAI, the International Association of Supreme Audit Institutions. Number 2, the Yellow Book, the GAGAS, the American CPA, the European Court of Auditors, and recently, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan and ICMA have introduced criteria for the NGOs about their reporting matters. When we talk about religious and education and health organization, their objectives are religious education, general education, healthcare clinics and hospitals, ambulance services, burial services, provide meals, plantation, etc. There may be hundreds of objectives and activities of these NGOs. Now, challenges in respect of our discussion for the improvement of NGOs, or if we talk about the audit, the problem with our organization is that when we talk about the performance or accountability or review or audit, they take it personally. They feel offended. They say, you are not relying on us. You are not trusting on us. They consider it to be a challenge. And when people talk to them about the performance matter, they say that if you don't trust us, don't come to us. And they feel threat to their integrity and trust matters. They don't allow to have such discussions. And there is a disconnection threat between the organization and the person discussing this matter. There are certain issues which we need to discuss about these organizations. Number 1 is the completeness of revenue. Whether revenue collected anywhere in the world for and on their behalf is deposited intact to their account or not. The other threat is misuse of resources, conflict of interest in respect of supplies, and conflict of interest in respect of holding positions. Recording and reporting matters, and accountability and performance evaluation matters. Family members control our key position in this organization. There are three types of control. One is a single member organization. The other is the organization run by the person and their immediate family, including cousins. And the third is the vast integrated family. Family members control our related revenue streams. They have control on the expenditure and they have control on key position and supplies, etc. Family member succession become family-owned business for generation in certain organizations. The collection and administration cost and ratio is the problem, and the benefit to beneficiary, collection amount and the benefit delivered to the beneficiaries, the ratio has to be better. High-level salaries and perquisites. In certain organization, a portion goes as a management fees. Like we have made an organization, we are running that organization, and we say that we don't charge any salary, but we charge management fee, and that management fee is distributed amongst the partners. Starting an NGO with public funds and on succession take ownership. There are certain organizations, there may be certain organizations which have started as an NGO or unofficial NGO, but when they have become profitable, they have become the ownership of the individuals. And in certain occasions, I have heard that these institutions are sold like a transaction in a business. Now, problem is, where does aid or donations go? See, on the left side, there is a picture. Aid is full circle as a bread. Second stage, third stage, fourth stage, and fifth stage. What goes to the beneficiary? And in our culture, there are certain organizations which are running on these models. We cannot give the examples, but these are the issues. The main outlays of their funding is rental, the collection charges. If somebody goes to collect the money, he charges the fees. It is in certain matters percentage of fees per percentage of collection, or it is or monthly basis. Administration and salaries, maintenance cost, and the last item, which is the last in the cartoon, is the delivery to beneficiary. Now, when we talk about the performance of these organizations, generally the term 3E is used. The first is economy, keeping the cost low. The second E is efficiency, making the optimum use of available resources. And the third E is effectiveness, achieving the stipulated aims or objectives. Economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. In other words, we can redefine it: money spent well, money spent less, spending well, spending wisely. Economy is money spent less, efficiency is money spent well, economy effectiveness is money spent wisely to achieve their purpose in a smart way. Now let's discuss about the first E. The quantity of human, financial, physical, and information resources with appropriate quality at the appropriate time and at the lower cost. This is about the resources. Funds are spent economically. Management activities with sound principles and policies. Procurement of goods and services at the cheapest price in a specified quality. Quality need not to be compromised. Collection costs are per norms. Utilization of assets for intended purpose. And the risk is revenue collection cost higher than the standard. These are the 4 risks associated with the first E. Utilization of assets for intended purposes. Revenue collection costs are not higher than the standard. Efforts are not duplicated and revenue is not schemed. Higher rate of contract, if it has been approved, there should be justification. Cost escalation, delay in completion is justified. Procurement expenditure, if increased without procuring goods on competitive price. Resources wasted by procuring unnecessary goods or more goods than requirement. And equipment remained idle. These are the risks associated with the first E. The second E, efficiency, making the optimum use of available resources, human, financial, physical, and information resources. Output is maximized for any given set of resource input. Input is minimized for any given quantity and quality of output. Resources efficiently used. Services of good quality, client-oriented, and delivered on time. Here, client is our beneficiary. Objectives or target of programs reached cost efficiently, and risk is decision-making process delayed. Is contractor's work schedule complied? Is work completed on time? Is hospital or service affected due to non-availability of doctor and medical equipment? Is waiting time in the hospital reduced at no extra cost with any reduction in quality of service? Are complaints and cases settled on time? Is monitoring and evaluation system efficient? Is budget available in time? Are free medicines supplied in appropriate time and quality? These were risks associated with the second E. Now come on the third E. Achievement of objectives or other intended effects or activities, whether policy objectives or goals have been met, policy decision, whether this can be attributed to the policy pursuit or circumstances. If there is an opportunity for the media projection and you avail that opportunity, so this is not success. It has to be according to our policies. Regarding effectiveness, there are certain other points. Stipulated aims being met by the means employed and the output produced. Impact observed really the result of the policy rather than other circumstances. Programs effectively prepared and designed, clear and consistent. Services produced in accordance with the stipulated objectives. Program clearly improved the quality of service received by the citizens and beneficiaries. Our customers are satisfied with the service and beneficiaries are satisfied with the service. our beneficiary accepted and used the output. Impact and change are felt and observed. Impact and change are felt and observed. It means our contribution should be seen and it should be felt and it should be observed. The organization purpose to determine this is the matter of assessment. When we become an advisor to an NGO, or we are going to discuss with them about the improvement of the performance of their organization, we need to discuss certain points. These are whether the principle of economy, that is minimizing the cost of resources, is achieved. Number two, whether an entity is working in such a way that the desired objective it will achieve. Number three, whether the public fund raised is put for the intended use. Number four, whether loans raised from the bank or long-term grants or finances provided by the donors are used for the purpose applied. Whether an entity is complying legal and other laws. Whether there is a need for improvement and we should suggest them. Whether an entity conducts any fraudulent or unlawful activities, which is in forensic work, but it is necessary in the current circumstances. Whether grants or other money given are spent for the purposes they are given, according to the schedule, according to the objectives, and according to the grant letter. Whether activities or functions are conducted with efficiency and effectiveness. These are few points. We have given 9. Basically, these are 5 points. If we focus in 5 points and we discuss with the organization and we tell them, gentlemen or chief executive, please consider this thing for the improvement of this organization. Now, benefits of performance audit or reviews or advisory. In TIFE context, I will say it is advisory work. Why is it needed? Determine efficiency and effectiveness, check optimum utilization of resources, verification of operations or of organization, reliability by finance providers. It is very much important because now as after the FATF implication, the donors will be very vigilant and they will like to see where their money is being spent. Assurance of funds used for the end purpose, suggests improvement and knowledge sharing. Now, this is about our work and advisory as a TIFE member. Now, I am just sharing certain points in respect of key performance indicator of not-for-profit organization. The source is given and this is available from the donor box and website. And there are other resources available on many websites which provide advisory to the NGOs. What are the KPIs? A key performance indicator is a measurable value that demonstrates how effectively a non-profit is running. Therefore, organizations use key performance indicators at multiple levels to evaluate their success in reaching targets. The KPI should be defined clearly. They are measurable and quantifiable, adaptable by respective organization. They must be crucial to achieving objectives. They must be practical and according to the capability of the leadership. And they must be providing motivation to the staff. Now, there are 5 or 6 categories. The number 1 KPI is about the fundraising. Major gifts received and the segment analysis. In certain NGOs, the gift is received in the form of building, furniture, in hospitals, in machines, X-ray machine, MRI machine, etc. So these are accounted for properly. Donors' numbers and donation amount and growth is analyzed. Donors' continuation or retention behavior is to be looked into. Donations fetching cost is plus, minus, or equal. If it is equal or it is negative, then there is no use to pursue that thing. The effectiveness of channel used. Marketing and communication KPIs are, these are very much technical. Website page reviews, email open and click-through rates, donation pages process completion rate, amplification, applause, and conversion rate. I understand that IT people will be able to contribute more. The KPIs relating to program delivery are beneficiary satisfaction rate, products and services satisfaction of beneficiary, impact change in knowledge, skill, and standard of living. Regarding human resources KPI, employees retention rate, satisfaction, employees performance rate, turnover, percentage of goals met, goal not achieved and abandoned, absenteeism rate apparently doing other businesses. In organization like NGO, we feel there is a head person, but he is engaged in various businesses. This is very much important whether he is focusing on the organization or not, or he is engaged in other businesses. The financial KPIs are year-over-year growth. Growth has to be ascending order. Operating surplus or deficit, is it alarming? Available assets for guarding against downturns and program efficiency. Now, this document we found the South Sudan National Non-Government Organization book about the capacity assessment tool. And this is very helpful and guiding for us. The organization capacity process is defining the need and objectives, planning the organizational capacity assessment process, defining the capacity areas of the organization, defining indicators for each capacity area, preparing assessment tools and methods, defining the organization stage of growth. These are 5 points: governance, organization management, financial management, program management and framework, resource mobilization and sustainability. Regarding governance, organization, mission, vision and goal, the board of directors and their role, the leadership role and duties, the legal status and the internal communication. Regarding organization management, the capacity assessment tool says the human resource management, human resource sustainability, office and assets management, procurement and logistics management. Regarding financial management, the capacity assessment tool guides us the bookkeeping, budgeting and budget management, resource management, financial reporting, audit, financial policies and procedures. Regarding program management, this book guides program, project planning, project management, monitoring and evaluation, sub-grantee partnership management, and gender integration. And regarding mobilization, resource mobilization and sustainability, these books guide us the program sustainability, financial sustainability, organization sustainability, institutional sustainability, resource-based sustainability, and external relations. now I have 3 minutes. Let's complete on this thing. Now, gentlemen, we have discussed the performance indicators, the need for performance evaluation, and the key performance indicators, etc. These are very essential for us who are here to help the organization to improve their performance. This is a chart, and it is narrated that Hazrat Sufyan Thawri Rahmatullah alayh saw this dream, and Nabi Akram Sallam advised him, Manistawa yomahu fahuwa maqboon. He whose 2 days are equal in accomplishment is a sure loser. It means our today should be better than yesterday, and our tomorrow should be better than today. If you are as good as you were yesterday, you will not be good for tomorrow. At least we should narrate this thing to our people, to the leadership of the organization, that it is necessary for us to be better than yesterday. The situation is mankind's reckoning has drawn near, but they turn away heedlessly. The message is Hasebu anfusakum qabla an tuhasebu wazinuha qabla an tuwazanu. Do your reckoning before you are reckoned. Weigh yourself before you are weighed. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much, Bashir Saab. Thank you very much. Nice discussion. Alhamdulillah. We are so happy to have you here. So I see some questions. So let me check the questions, and then there's one question, interesting question from Meera Kudi Siraji, and it's being asked that can we apply the balanced scorecard for performance evaluation of NGOs?
Any evaluation tool which help you to improve the performance is good. Balanced scorecard is an structured way of checking performance, and I understand there is no harm to do it, but it is too advanced. I must suggest that there are many other checklists available on internet for performance evaluation to see the capacity of your organization, and according to that, you select that checklist, first improve that, and then go in the balanced scorecard. The problem with our organization is that we are living in a village, but we are applying the standard of the New York City. So it is a mismatch. So we have to see what is required for us. We have to see our load, and then we have to see our vehicle to carry that load. So there is no harm in adopting the balanced scorecard, but see whether it is matching with the requirement of your organization or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There is another interesting question. You spoke about 3 E's for assessment. And there is a question from Ahmad Belu that which one you think is most important among the 3 E's?
Now, regarding the amanat, the first E, economy, is the most important, amanat. Because if we use the perquisites, if we can travel on the by bus or by train, and we use the super thing, if we can travel in economy class, but we travel in the first class or business class, if we can is reasonable lunch, but we take an extravagant lunch, These are the first E, which is more important and which is very much concerned about the amanat. Economy is concerned the amanat. Number two is the second is efficiency. It is your diligence or performance or your work related, labor related, your time related. And third is your brain related, your wisdom related. So first is money related, second is labor related, third is brain related. And you see what is required in your organization. Because we are Amin, we take amanat and we spend there. Number first is very much important for us. And number 2 and 3 will escalate the performance of first. This is my understanding, but other people can give other ideas. This is a big topic, and I think the next session can be held about the improvement the economic matters in the organization. I appreciate that question.
Inshallah. Thank you, sir. So there is another question from Professor Rahmawati. He's asked, the question is that in terms of accountability, most organizations disclose financial information rather than non-financial information. What's your opinion on the importance of religious education information disclosed in the not-for-profit organization annual report? Do you think there is a need to disclose that kind of information in the annual reports, non-financial information?
I think the current scenario of the world and the organization and the reporting requirement is that number one, the financial information are must. Number two, the disclosure of the conflict of interest is also important. Okay. If you are running an NGO and people come there and there is a shop and they purchase from there, who owns that shop? It is also important. And it's very crucial. And people will hesitate to give this information. In addition to this, I must advise you, and Zia Saab, I can share with you the checklist of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan and ICMA of Pakistan on the performance of the NGO. So you can share with the participant.
Sure.
And that is very much important. And inshallah, if needed, I can provide you further information and you can have a WhatsApp group for this thing or Telegram group, and we can share this information for improvement. But the other information are important and necessary, very much important, because now people will be asking you, what is the performance? Because the financial statement will not tell you the performance. The report will tell you how much contribution you have made it, how much scholars you have produced, how much people you are producing in this society for the betterment. These are the important things.
Correct. Thank you. There is one remark from Mr. Ijaz Ali Nadeem from Al Khidmat Foundation, Pakistan. He's saying that the KPI that you have mentioned in your presentation and PCP evaluation criteria, they are the same, but very informative and practical. So it's just a comment rather than a question. There is another interesting question. He said there is one question. To say that we are not able to see the name of the person who is asking, is that in Pakistan there are like many people, they don't like to mention their name when they are giving the donation. This concept that when one hand is giving the donation or doing charity, the second should not know. So people are not willing to disclose their identities, and then they give the donation without being acknowledged or requesting for receipts. How to cater for that?
Yes, this is a normal practice of the big donors in Pakistan. They give you money, and normally they give in cash. Okay. The reason is known, and we don't need to discuss. Suppose uh, I, I, uh, I am the person who is receiving the donation, and you are the donor. You have come with me, you have come to me with 1 million rupees. There is a pack. Now my duty is to take you on a corner and count that money and issue a formal receipt for that. And you should read that it has been written 1 million and 1 comma 000 strike and dash. Then you have fulfilled your responsibility. The money given to the recipient should be properly acknowledged and the receipt should be taken, and you can ask them to write the name of the donor as Abdullah. No issue. But you need to take the formal proper receipt, and you should need to ask them that provide you that money has been deposited into bank and you are able to see the bank statement. Now, in certain circumstances, I will do that. But this is very much important. At least we should take the receipt.
Sure.
I have seen in many organizations, they give the back and they go away. Whether it is 1 million or 2 million, people don't know. But I understand for the accountability purposes, we should do it.
Thank you very much. There's one question which is not directly related. It's your choice. You want to answer, it's fine. Otherwise, we can skip this question. There's one question from a sister. She's asking how to kickstart a health NPO, non-profit organization dealing with health. Any guideline, anything that you want to suggest?
Sister, presently it is not a difficult job. Just go on Google, write how to start an NGO, and you will get, I think, more than 100 replies on this thing. You can write further specification. You put those things in inverted commas. You put pluses between the words. You can get the specific answer 3 or 4 replies. If you need, I can find and provide to you. But it's better that something is available to everyone. You can get from Google. Very simple things. If you want to get the funding from USAID or on other organizations, there are separate guidebooks. For African countries, there are many guidebooks how to start an NGO. So, have I conveyed a reply to your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. One last question. Let me check. Yeah, the question is being asked that if there is an issue between the trustees, some are trying to pursue their personal agendas and goals, and there are some people who are seriously honest and committed to the cause. Can you give any advice on how to deal with that situation?
Which country do you belong to? Can you tell me just?
I think the question is from Nigeria.
Okay, Nigeria. Okay. Okay. Gentlemen, there are many guidelines and checklists available which provide the organizations to make their constitution and their policies and decision making. There are certain people who are in your board of governors who have their own interest in the organization as far as supplies are concerned. Suppose your job is to provide shelters and tents to the immigrants, and one of the board member is the person who has a factory of supplies for this thing, tents, etc. So there will be a conflict of interest situation, and there is a need to have the quotation general public through media, newspaper, and after this quotation, you can compare the price and give to that thing. Otherwise, there will be a conflict of interest situation, and we need to manage and mitigate that thing.
Thank you very much. Last few minutes left, so we'll take two questions. Ehsan, if you are there, can you open the mic? I'm not able to open. Can you open the mic for Hajia Saidatu I Ajay?
Yes.
Hajia, your mic, you can unmute yourself and you can speak.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please,
yes. I'm very much impressed with this training session. I am not asking a question. It's just a commendation, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless and reward the organizers as well as our trainer. Thank you very much, sir.
Jazakallah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. There is one more person. I would request only people who have a question. We really appreciate your kind comments. You can send us your comments and you can remember us in your duas. So, Ehsan, can you open the mic for Kolawole Nasir? Kolawole Nasir, your mic, you can unmute yourself and you can speak. Kolawole, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I think he is busy. Rafiu Showole, are you available? Ehsan, can you mute Kolawole and then Rafiu?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, I'm Rafiu Showole from Nigeria. So my question is this. Yeah. In the course of the presentation, one of the identified challenges or problems of NGO is that to a larger percentage of the funds received of the revenue of the NGO goes to management or staffs or administrative costs. So how can an NGO determine the appropriate percentage that should be spent on administrative cost or the management or staffing, cost of staffing? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am redefining your question. What should be the percentage of collection of funds and what should be the percentage of the admin cost? Is it your question?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
This is what he's asking.
Okay. I think the persons who are collecting the zakat and the persons who are handling the organization may come, but subject to the approval of the Mufti Hazrat, under the Amilin Zakat forum. Amilin Zakat, the collection staff. Okay. Now, there may be zakat, there may be donation, there may be charities, there may be grants. We have to see that it should be at the minimum, but it should not be extravagant. It should be economical. And it is very subjective topic. What should be the percentage? I may say you 10% and you make it 10% and then your organization is closed. But you have to see what is required for your organization to sustain as an organization. Like you need a chief executive, you need an office, you need a website, you need certain staff, you need 2 vehicles. So these are the costs, and there should be budget. Okay, if you make a budget and you see that this is our budget, and for to meet this budget, we need to collect this thing. These are the collection matters. But your real budget will depend upon your delivery of service to the society. So you have to budget that. I understand that budgeting is a topic which need to be discussed under the TIFE auspices. And according to that guidance, it should be taken it. My dear friend, this is very subjective question. You may define in your organization that this cost should not be more than 10%. You can define. And in certain organization, it is higher. In a few organizations, they don't charge anything to this thing. They collect the money and they deliver to people, and the admin cost is being borne by the board of directors. This is also a model. So your organization should not be a vehicle to provide salary and sustenance to few employees. Okay. Yeah, bye.
Just thank you very much, Bashir Saab. Thank you very much. I think with this we come to the conclusion of this session. I would like to thank Bashir Saab once again for sparing your time and for this very informative session today. Inshallah, we will be inviting you more and more. There is one, just for the information of the people, there have been questions about like presentation and slides and video of the program. You don't need to ask any program, any webinar that is done. The presentation and the video is distributed among the participants without saying, and also will be the certificate of attendance. Second thing, Bashir Saab has written several books. There were questions, how can we get the books of Bashir Saab? You can write to us at contact@taif.ae. Any specific book of Bashir Bhai you are interested, we will coordinate with them. And inshallah, we will let you know from where you can get the hard copy or the soft copy of that book. Last but not the least, inshallah, very soon there is one course that Bashir Saab has done for Taif. Inshallah, that course is finalized. The launch of the course is being finalized. So inshallah, we will be launching it. Bashir Saab, this is end from my side. Any concluding remarks from your side, and then we conclude this session.
Okay, I am thankful to the participants, and I understand that I have been able to contribute something for the persons who are associated with NGOs. And through this thing, you would be able to improve the performance of your respective organizations. And this is important for us because we are a mean of the Ummah. So the concept of amanat is very much important for us. And the NGOs, organization, job, Taif, everything is amanat, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. And as the learned speaker mentioned earlier, our objective is to provide the capacity building support that is needed for NGOs and for the organizations that are running this, these institutions, not-for-profit institutions. We will continue in this effort of ours to promote the cause of Islamic finance. Please remember us in your duas. And thank you very much once again to the participants, and thank you very much, Bashir Saab, Thank you very much. So kind of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This brings this session to an end. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.